What is good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode brought to you by the League FFB, and more specifically, an episode of our Dynasty trade show brought to you by Let's Talk Dynasty. So, what we are going to be doing today is our bi-weekly trade show. You guys have submitted some trades from your Dynasty Fantasy Football leagues into our Discord. I've pulled some trades. We are going to review some trades, but it would never be Let's Talk Dynasty, and we would not have as good of a conversation, as controversial of a conversation as we usually do if we didn't bring in my co-host MFGDs. So let's get him into the building here. And how you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm doing good, and I'm ready to do another trade show, man. Let's see what the guys have come up with this time, and let's see if we can critique some trade.
Hell yeah, man. We got about 10 of them today. And before we get into it, I do want to just put a little piece of news out there because it's something I have had requested quite heavily as of lately. The people, they want a way to listen to the show without having to watch us on YouTube. I will say the best experience you can possibly get is by watching us on YouTube, but I've caved. I'm currently working on trying to get us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and some of the other platforms that you listen to audio only. So I'm working on doing that, trying to get our show approved by Apple right now. They said it's going to be a week or two. So give me some time, but just know it's on the works. If you guys are interested in audio only, we are going to be on those platforms here, hopefully very soon, but something in the works. So with that said, let's go right into the episode today. I have them pulled up on the screen, and really the first one that is pulled up on the screen is Rookie in the Vet and Killer B. So this is a 10-team super flex PPR half point tight end premium and start 10. Rookie in the Vet submitted this, and he says he is contending. Also mentioned that he has fallen just short of the championship 2 years in a row. So he is going to be receiving Tyreek Hill, and he trades away Puka Nacua. So how are we feeling about this type of deal? This is definitely a trade in two different directions.
Typical Rookie in the Vet having to throw in a tidbit that he only fell short of the championship 2 years in a row. Typical Rookie in the Vet. I feel like this is a proper trade. It's pretty even. It's risky because we've talked about Puka Nacua, but I'm not going to go into it today because I don't want the mob after me. But I would say just on its face, this is a fair deal. Rookie in the Vet, he's contending, as he likes to mention. And he's getting the best wide receiver asset in fantasy football. And in return, Killer B is getting a rising star, a young star who put up amazing record-breaking numbers just last season. So I think this is a fairly even trade to a degree.
Yeah, I would say from a strategy standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. I would say I feel like market value, most people are not super high on Tyreek in the dynasty market unless you are contending. So part of me wonders if you could have maybe gotten a little bit more for Puka Nacua, because I think most people in the community are going to value Nacua quite higher than Tyreek right now. Like I said, unless you are contending. So I understand that if this is what it takes to get the deal done and you feel like Tyreek is the piece to put you over the hump, you could make this move. But I almost feel like you might have been able to get a future second thrown in, a David Njoku type of player, Christian Kirk type of player thrown into this deal and maybe gotten a deal done. I don't know. Maybe Killer B wouldn't go for that. Knowing him, likely probably doesn't go for that. But I would say that that's probably closer to market value as if you throw a little piece on top of the Tyreek to get this done.
Yeah, I agree. I guess when you put it like that, yeah, it feels weird to say that Tyreek Hill's market value has any flaws whatsoever because we're talking about Tyreek Hill here, but I totally get it, especially when we're talking about dynasty football. I can see an extra piece being asked for. Now, just me personally knowing these two guys, getting an extra piece or going either way will be, and I'll throw you in there too. You're in there too. All three of you guys are very difficult to get an extra piece from, even if we're talking about the difference between a fourth and a fifth. It's very hard, but I could totally see it in the normal world. Yes, I think it's fine to get an extra piece with Tyreek Hill in this trade.
Yeah, and you're alluding to the trade negotiations you and I had the other day where I approached you and said I felt like it just made sense. You have Drake May on your roster. Right. And I have Jacoby Brissett on my roster. You have Sam Darnold on your roster, and I have JJ McCarthy on my roster. I said, War, this just makes sense. I'll give you Brissett. That's your quarterback handcuff. You give me Darnold. That's my quarterback handcuff. You told me you wanted a fourth. I said, I'll give you a fifth. You said, I'm not doing it. I said, well, then go to hell. I don't care. We're not doing this shit, dude. It just made too much sense. I'm not doing that. So that's what you're alluding to. That's kind of the insight of what happens in these leagues we're in.
Yeah.
But I did want to bring up just really quickly before we move on to the next one, because we don't got to talk about this one for too much longer. Puka Nacua currently is the wide receiver 6 over on Keep Trade Cut. Tyreek Hill's the 10. That's why I say there's probably a way you could have maybe in a normal market gotten an extra piece thrown into Tyreek. But overall, this makes sense for both teams. If Rookie or Killer B is trying to get younger, go get Nacua. If Rookie and the Vet's trying to look for that piece to push him into the championship, Tyreek Hill is definitely one of the guys you want on your roster. So good trade for both parties, I think.
I agree.
All right, let's go to trade number 2 here. This is submitted by Johnny Detroit. And I will say, look, backstory to how this happens is I send War in a text message. I send him a bunch of screenshots of all of these trades. And I always tell him, you pick 5, I'll pick 5. If we're doing 10 trades, you get to pick half. I get to pick half. War, I don't know why the hell you chose this trade to review, because this is disgusting. But it is a 12-team super flex PPR half point tight end premium, and then you have a start 10. And the context that I got was Johnny made a trade when he was drunk. This is a Johnny drunk trade right now. So Johnny Detroit gets Hendon Hooker, Sione Vaki, and a 25 third-round pick, and he gives up Geno Smith. So, War, you chose this trade. Why are we talking about this?
You know what? Because I see a little bit of myself in Johnny Detroit. The myself that I've moved away from, where I would trade away valuable assets to get Chicago Bears players. This isn't a whole nother level, though. Two of those 3 assets he got may never play a legitimate or important snap in the NFL. I understand that Vaki has a cult following. I understand. I get it. He did used to be 99% on a sleeper app. I get it. Hendon Hooker, he might be 30 before he ever gets a chance, and by then they'll look for somebody else. So it's basically a 3rd rounder for Geno Smith, which I cannot co-sign. As trash as I think Geno Smith is, I cannot co-sign a 3rd for Geno Smith. I chose this trade because it's a bit of an intervention. Johnny Detroit, I take seriously the Detroit in your name, and I understand the importance of collecting Detroit players from the Lions. But sir, my good sir, it is time to stop. Okay. Do not trade away another important asset to get, I don't even know if I want to call it waiver wire fodder. Waiver wire fodder. Do not do that, sir. Please and thank you.
When you were trading for 3rd and 4th string players on your own NFL team, it's getting way too deep. It's we got an issue, Johnny, and knowing Johnny, because Johnny's been a part of some of the mock drafts that we've done and some of the other stuff, Johnny has no shame. I've seen him hit a mock draft where his first 3 picks were Jahmyr, Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta. Bro, he was just ripping Detroit Lions straight out the mock draft. And I can almost assure you that this team that he received Hendon Hooker and Vaki on, I bet he has Gibbs or a Monty or a Jared Goff on that roster as well. So he could make the argument probably that he's trading for his handcuffs. But my God, dude. Geno Smith is a starting quarterback in the NFL, and a player recently on my redraft video that I made for the top 24 quarterbacks, I actually kind of like the outlook of Geno this year specifically, because you have Ryan Grubb coming over from the Washington Huskies. He has had one of the best passing offenses in college football over the last couple of seasons. You know, you got JSN, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, all of these guys. Geno could give you some QB2 numbers this year, man. Like, I know we don't love Geno, but he could really be a sneaky quarterback value in a super flex league. And I feel like I'm going to give Johnny the benefit of the doubt. Sober Johnny doesn't make this trade, but drunk Johnny that is looking for some more Lions to add to the squad. This is not one I wanted to talk about, but you brought it in, and maybe more so because we need to have Johnny Detroit Anonymous around here. It's an Alcoholics Anonymous, man.
Yeah, and trust me, this is a Minnesota Vikings and a Chicago Bear fan helping a Detroit Lion fan. So that's how serious this is.
Johnny, get some help. We're going to move on to trade number 3 here. This is a 12-team Superflex PPR, a 0.75 tight end premium, 6-point passing touchdowns, and start 10. And I will say this because I put this in the Discord. Moving forward, if you guys are watching this show, good problems. We are getting so many submissions that we're skimming through 25, 30, 40 trades at a time sometimes when it comes to a trade show. Moving forward, if you do not include enough context and you do not include trade accepted or trade completed in the screenshot, I will not even consider it for the show. So no Quarters. He submits a ton of trades. I can trust him. But moving forward, Quarters, I need to see trade completed. I trust you, but I just got to eliminate some people purely just because some people aren't following the directions. So I don't want to be a stickler, but that is the last time I will say it. With that said, Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, and Trevor Lawrence for Josh Allen. How do we feel about this type of deal in a 12-team superflex?
That no Quarter still didn't get enough. That's how I feel. Running backs, I'm sorry. In a world of quarterbacks and wide receivers, like running backs, okay. Saquon, I think he's going to have a really good season, but like, I don't know how the longevity of that's going to look. Same with Taylor. He's younger, but how long is he going to do it? And then Trevor Lawrence, he's a question mark. We think he's going to step up, but he's a question mark. But for God's sakes, you're giving up like player 1 or player 2 in fantasy football. Like he's either player 1 or player 2. I'm not talking about quarterback 1. I'm talking about one of the top 2 players in fantasy football, period.
Yeah.
You just didn't get enough back, man. The pieces you got back were fine, but I would have loved for Quarters to get back even more of a return than that if he's giving up Josh Allen.
Yeah, I agree. And I don't mind the process. And I want to we can kind of take this into 2 separate ways of conversation here. The first one is some people are nervous, at least what I've noticed in the community right now. Some people are nervous about Josh Allen. No Stephon Diggs this year. You know, the receiving core is Curtis Samuel, Keon Coleman, a guy that some people didn't really like coming out. Some people really loved him. People are nervous about Josh Allen. My first part of this is they should not be worried about Josh Allen, correct?
Correct.
So let's not sell Josh Allen short. We don't need to do that right now. I still have him as my QB1 in fantasy football in 2024, despite Stephon Diggs not being there. He is the number 1 quarterback in my rankings this season. And you could argue that without Stephon there, he is going to use his legs even more, which is going to just increase that fantasy football potential because he's going to be running the football. Right. I agree with you where it's like you are trading down and I like the vision. I like the process. I just really wish one of these assets was a wide receiver. You know, you get to take Barkley or you get to take Taylor, but the other one has to be the wide receiver. I don't even mind you going down to Trevor Lawrence because I do think it is a prove it year for Trevor, but if that's where you want to get down into that type of tier, fine. But like if instead of Saquon Barkley, we're talking about, let's see, somebody who's right around him. Instead of Saquon Barkley, we're talking about T. Higgins and it's Trevor Lawrence, Jonathan Taylor, and T. Higgins. You feel way better about this, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like in order for this trade to be fair, you either had to get one of those type of wide receivers or at least a first round pick.
Yeah.
Had the ability to draft another top wide receiver.
Yeah, that's probably where I would have been. It could have been anybody in that tier. A T. Higgins, a DJ Moore, a Tank Dell, a Zay Flowers. It doesn't matter. Just throw the wide receiver in there because I don't want to have 2 of these running backs. One, Saquon Barkley, who's 27 and a half years old. He's going to turn 28 during the NFL season, which is bad news bears for the running back age cliff. And then you have Jonathan Taylor, who, like you said, a little bit younger, but he's 25. He's going to turn 26 during the season. So you maybe got a year or 2 more of Taylor before he really hits the age cliff. It feels short term. And if it's a short term play, Josh Allen just might score that many fantasy football points using his legs anyways, that it doesn't matter.
Bingo.
All right, let's move on. Do you have anything else for us on this one?
No, man. I think we have spoken.
All right, well, let's move on to trade 4. We got Master Bateman 5, and then we have I Lack L's. This is a 12-team Superflex PPR half-point tight end premium and start 10. I Lack L's says he is contending. So it is Garrett Wilson for Jaylen Waddle, Pat Fryermuth, and a third. Or you're the Jaylen Waddle guy here. How we feel about this type of deal?
I feel like I like the Master Bateman side. I like that side. But because you're getting Waddle and Wilson, I mean, you can make the argument that they're not too far away from each other as far as like tiers and reductions and things like that, especially when you start to bake in like the period of time where Waddle will be in his career when Tyreek Hill decides to actually hang it up. And he's just in addition getting a third and Pat Frymouth. I mean, I guess if you see Wilson as that much higher than Waddle, like in your tiers, then I think the extra pieces make it fine.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I like all of the pieces. I mean, the 25 third, I don't really care too much about it. But Jaylen Waddle, Pat Freiermuth, I like those pieces. Freiermuth is a guy that I'm actually getting really high on going into this year. I have him as like a really sneaky value pick for redraft leagues. But this is a relatively small price that you have to pay to tier up if you believe Garrett Wilson takes that step forward into that upper echelon, which I've thought he could do it for a couple years, but it's lining up finally. And this is probably, we just got to see Aaron Rodgers be healthy, I guess. But I'm okay paying this price to go up to Garrett Wilson, because even if you got into this tier and you don't want to stick with Garrett Wilson, it puts you in a conversation where you can make an additional move now, where you can make a lateral move to a Puka or a move to an AJ Brown or a Malik Neighbors or whatever you want to do. I'm okay with something like that, but I don't hate getting the Freiermuth on the Waddle side if you're trying to tier down and get extra assets. But as far as this one goes, it's a fair deal. So I just prefer the side that is contending and getting the best player in the deal, in my opinion, which is I lack L's.
I don't got too much to add to that, man.
All right. So seems like you wanted to give him an L, but I say he lacks them. So he doesn't get an L from my side. We will go to slide 5 here, trade number 5 here. 10-team super flex, full PPR, half point tight end premium, and start 10. We got Killer, and we'll just call him BL206. Justin Herbert, Trey Benson, and Rome Odunze being received for DK Metcalf and Jaden Daniels. So how do we feel about a move like this one?
I feel like this is more Justin Herbert hate because
It is.
I'm picking Killer 10 all the way on this one. And I have familiarity with both of these pieces. Jaden Daniels, I'm not gonna say I don't see it, because I mean he has a chance to be a stud, but I think Justin Herbert has the ability to be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, top 5 quarterback in fantasy football. But I think a lot of people are sleeping on him tough. And then you're getting a player that, I'm sorry, he's just gonna, and I'm not saying it because he's a bear either. I just think that his upside and what he can bring, we already know. I think we've seen the best of DK Metcalf. But I think Rome Odunze, this is a guy that if you watched Hard Knock, he really was neck and neck in consideration with Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors. Like that, it really, I heard rumors during the draft process that there's people that actually had him ranked as the number 1 wide receiver. And I think that's true. And I think that the general consensus is that all 3 of those guys are studs. But I also think the general consensus is that all 3 of those guys would have got taken before DK Metcalf. So yeah. I can make the argument that if we're talking, I'm just going to push Trey Benson to the side. I can make an argument that if we looked at him and ranked them, Justin Herbert, Rome Odunze, DK Metcalf, Jaden Daniels, I can make the argument that Killer 10 got the top 2 assets out of the 4 assets in the trade, and he got Trey Benson. So that's just where I am with that.
I agree with you. Like I think there's going to be some people that if you say Herbert or Daniels, there's going to be enough people that can make it a conversation, I guess. But when you look at Keep Trade Cut, you look at where the community currently has them ranked. Justin Herbert, he's the QB 10. Jaden Daniels, he's the QB 12. So you would assume that you probably have to put the extra on the other side of this deal. DK Metcalf, he's not being drafted anywhere near where Rome Odunze is currently being drafted at. Rome is being drafted as the wide receiver 14. I guess it's closer than I thought. He's the wide receiver 14. DK is the wide receiver 19 currently on Keep Trade Cut. So a decent spot. But that tells you Herbert and Odunze are both higher than Metcalf and Daniels on Keep Trade Cut. And then you're throwing in Trey Benson in here just as like an extra piece. I think you're right. It's overreaction. It's hate on Justin Herbert. And every one of these pieces in this deal, I actually really like. I like all of these pieces. I have a mismatch kind of combination of all of these guys on every single one of my teams. So when it comes down to it, though, overreaction. A lot of people have this opinion of Justin Herbert right now where it's like last year he was injured for us during the fantasy football playoffs. So we're going to knock him because of that bad taste in our mouth. Then we bring in Jim Harbaugh, who wants to run the football. Greg Roman wants to run the football. Now everybody's using that as a talking point as to, oh, well, Justin Herbert wasn't good for us last year because he missed the playoffs and blah, 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 blah. And now they're not going to pass the football. It's ridiculous. This is the freaking NFL, dude. You have to throw the football in the NFL if you want to be successful. successful, especially when you play in a division with the Kansas City Chiefs. So
Yeah.
this is just it. He may not be throwing the football as much as he was when Kellen Moore was there and other guys were calling the plays, but the reality is they're still going to throw the football. Justin Herbert's not going to be this horrible asset. Like I feel like sometimes when I'm having conversations with people in leagues, people are treating Justin Herbert more so like he is Tua, Brock Purdy, like Trevor Lawrence, like he's down there. And it's like, no, this is a guy that should still be considered in the same type of conversation as Jordan Love, Kyler Murray. Like this is kind of how we should be viewing this guy for the most part. Joe Burrow even is kind of how we should be viewing this guy. I don't know. People are overreacting on Justin Herbert. I think it's ridiculous. But that being said, this is a trade where Benson probably doesn't even need to be involved. You said it. He doesn't need to be involved for me to take the Herbert and Odunze side, unless I guess you want to get younger with Daniels at the QB position. But it doesn't really matter because you're giving up a younger wide receiver and a young running back anyway. So I can't find a way to paint this where I actually want to take the other side that's not receiving Herbert, Odunze, and Benson.
Same.
All right. Well, let's move on to trade number 6. This was a trade put in the Discord. Again, I need to see trade completed in the future. That's a final warning. 10 teams, super flex, full PPR. They start 2 tight ends in this league, and it's a start 11. So Noah is going to receive Devon Achane and the 303. I don't know how they haven't done their rookie draft up to this point because I feel like the season's almost here. But Micah Runner, we got DeAndre Swift, Will Levis, and the 207. So we don't know who those picks are, but right now, how are we feeling about a deal like this?
I'm taking Micah Runner's side. I feel like DeAndre Swift is another very much slept on asset. I think we talked about that last week. He's a very much slept on fantasy asset. I think that he has an opportunity to put up good numbers for a franchise that at their core loves to run the football and is going to have a rookie quarterback who's going to need a good running game supporting him. So I think he got that. I mean, honestly, I think it's within the realms of outcomes that Swift can outperform Achane this season. We know Achane's a home run hitter, but we also know that the Dolphins like to deploy multiple running backs. So, I mean, I think just the opportunity and the lack of depth behind Swift. I know they have Justin Herbert and not Justin Herbert, have Herbert, Khalil Herbert, and Roschon Johnson behind them. But if you listen to all the chatter coming out of Chicago Bears training camp and coming from the coaching staff, they look at Swift as a weapon, and they look at Swift, they want to use him in multiple ways. They're talking about Swift like they want to use him as the bell cow. So that's just my intel on Chicago Bears, what I'm telling you there. So he's going to have a great opportunity, Danae Chan. Then you're getting a quarterback, which Andrew, his number one rules, you don't give up a quarterback unless you're getting one back. And this one has a quarterback going one way and not one going the other way. And finally, he's giving up a higher draft pick. Okay, look, I don't know if this is like another version of the Puka Nacua thing. I like Devon Achane. I really like Devon Achane, but Devon Achane is not that dude enough to be giving up all these assets for, man. He's a home run hitter. Can he stay healthy? Will he get the opportunity? The Dolphins just drafted, was it Jaylen, right? Like, yeah. Come on now. Like, you can't, they'll use anybody back there. So you don't know what type of opportunity Achane is going to get. So I take the Micah Runner side all the way.
Yeah, this one's interesting to me because there's a couple points that you bring up that I actually agree with. One of them is like, if you do move the quarterback, I like to always make sure that I'm getting one back. The other point that you bring up is you feel as if Achane is a little bit overvalued in the community right now. I actually probably kind of agree with you there as well. So with that being said, I still prefer the Achane side. And I think this is strictly because the value that a guy like Devon Achane has in the community right now, we're talking about a guy that is being valued just a few hundred points behind the Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey type of tier of running back. Also, he's like above ETN, above Kyron Williams, above Saquon Barkley, above Jonathan Brooks, Kenneth Walker, Isiah Pacheco. Like, there's really good running backs that he's above. And I'm not saying that he should be below all of those guys, but the reality for me is if I'm going to down tier Achane in a 10-team league, and I think this is part of my argument here, is it's a 10-team league, so your quarterback position isn't as scarce as it is in a 12-team. Guys like Will Levis, like, you're praying that he takes a step forward enough that he's like a guy you can play. And I feel like for the most part, in a 10-team league, Will Levis is the guy that you're playing on your bye week. So I just don't know if he's like a piece that really makes me that excited to roster. Swift, he's going to be fine. I said he's undervalued last week as well, like you. but also the draft capital, it's a 6-spot difference. It's like moving back 6 spots. I think in this year's class, it's going to give you, I'm actually not sure what the rookie draft ADP is right now. But at the time that we were doing them, like that was the difference between like a Blake Corum and I don't know, like can't even remember. Whatever. It's not that big of a difference in that 6th-round ADP. This is such a deep class. So I just feel like give me Achane, and not that I want to keep Achane, but now that Noah has Achane, if I'm him, I'm trying to make another move now where I move Achane for like Pacheco or a Rashad White or a James Cook, and then you get back a better QB than what was Will Levis. So that's probably the way that I would go about it. But I don't know. I think you could go either way for the most part, but the best player in the deal to me is Achane. He has the most home run ability. He has the best points per game kind of outlook. So I'll just take Achane.
I hear you. I don't agree with you, but I hear you. Achane's an exciting player to have, man. He's a home run hitter. I just think people are going to be a little bit surprised about what Swift brings to the table this season.
Yeah, I will say this, like in a single season format, like a best ball draft in Underdog or like redraft league that you play in with your friends, like I would be much more eager to go get Devon Achane than I am in a dynasty league. And that's just because I don't have to deal with the long-term implications of a guy like Achane's profile, but I get to have all the benefits of like the electricity that he brings to my fantasy team for this year. Like I think in my underdog drafts, I have Achane as like one of my most drafted running backs right now. Him and Kyron Williams are like some of my most drafted running backs. And it's because the dynasty community is influencing the best ball community to fade those guys. But in a single season format, like why the hell not? These guys are electric when they have the football in their hands. All right, let's move on to trade number 7 here. We do have this trade. We got the names blurred out, so we don't know who's who, but that's fine. We got Isiah Pacheco and Jahmyr Gibbs being traded for Trevor Lawrence, Kyle Pitts, and Brian Thomas. And this is a 12-team Superflex, full PPR, and start 9. Now, the context that they wanted to give us was the guy trading away Trevor Lawrence already has CJ Stroud and Caleb Williams at his QB position.
Still got to get a quarterback back, man. Even if it's like somebody
Will Levis.
yeah, even if it's like Will Levis or Bo Nix or something. I just don't. This is tough because it's difficult to see not Joe Gibbs. It's difficult to see Jahmyr Gibbs traded away, man. I'm going to reluctantly go with the Trevor Lawrence side, just on the strength of not getting a quarterback back, just on the strength of what I think Kyle Pitts can do with Kirk Cousins as his quarterback. I don't think he's going to set the world on fire, but I do think that he'll be somewhere in between what we thought he was going to be and what he has been. And Brian Thomas, you're getting stacked too. So, but damn, man, Gibbs, if you want to go to Gibbs' side, I wouldn't poo-poo it because I kind of want to go to Gibbs' side. So,
dude, here's the thing. Again, all players that I really like. I have more Trevor Lawrence than I want to admit right now. Have Gibbs pretty much everywhere after drafting him in every rookie draft last year. Pacheco's a guy I'm high on. Brian Thomas is a guy I drafted a lot of this year. I don't have much Kyle Pitts, but I see the pathway for him to be successful this year. I understand you have Stroud and Caleb, and so you feel like you don't need the quarterback. I feel like the idea here, which I think he put it in the context, was it's very hard to get those hammer players. And Jahmyr Gibbs, he is one of those guys that like I would not be surprised if for the next 5 years, Jahmyr Gibbs is a top 10 running back, and he's just consistently putting RB1 season and RB1 season and RB1 season just like over and over again. Like I would not be surprised if that's what Jahmyr Gibbs does.
Yeah.
And that's very valuable. But in a 12-team league that is a super flex league, your quarterback position, whether you believe that it's right or wrong, there is nothing that compares to having that strong quarterback room. And I feel like if you wanted to say, hey, I'm too strong at your quarterback room, which we also need to kind of account for the fact that Caleb Williams, as much as we all love him, as much as I think he's going to be a stud, he still has not played a football game. He's not a sure thing by any means. Like we've seen guys who have been, I mean, look, we're looking at one on the screen right now. Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be the next Peyton Manning. Sometimes it doesn't play out that way. So it doesn't hurt to have the extra QB. Maybe what I would have done is I would have tried to see if I could send my Kyle Pitts and Brian Thomas and maybe just try to get Gibbs by himself. Like I don't need Pacheco in the deal. And then you could down tier that quarterback from Trevor Lawrence. Like maybe go from Trevor Lawrence to like a Jared Goff or Trevor Lawrence to if you want to go even further, like you could go down to, if you're super confident, like we said, a Will Levis, a Bryce Young, somebody like that. Like that's probably what I would have done. I probably wouldn't have tried to do it all in one deal. If Gibbs is available, you make the offers, but we've said it. I don't really want to give the QB, especially a guy who's being drafted as like a second round startup pick, a third round startup pick type of quarterback in a super flex 12 team type of league. Like that's where I'm a little bit less excited to do this, because I think there's a world where, whether people believe it or not, there's a world where Trevor Lawrence outscores Caleb Williams all year. He's a rookie. I mean, it could be a little bit slow to start. Like we've just seen things happen. It's not guaranteed that Caleb goes out and gives us the CJ Stroud year. So
he's not even signed yet.
Yeah. So I mean, like let's pump the brakes a little bit on Caleb Williams. But I love Caleb, but let's pump the brakes a tiny bit. And I think this is just maybe a little bit of a sell short on Trevor Lawrence. And I love Gibbs. I see the idea and I see why you do it, but I think there's just still more value on the other side, and probably could have been a different move to be made rather than just this one.
Yeah, I agree.
So
it's hard. It's hard not to take Gibbs, huh?
Hell yeah. I mean, you want Gibbs on your teams. So like, and I get it. Trevor's probably starting on this lineup right away, because I'm probably not playing Caleb week 1 as my starter. But let's move on. And you also probably took a pretty significant, I didn't even mention it, you probably took a pretty significant downgrade at tight end, because who do you have that's better than Kyle Pitts? He's being drafted as like a top 6 tight end right now. So likely you don't have another guy. But let's move on. Trade 8. We have some more quarterbacks. This is actually a very interesting one. I think this is the trade on the thumbnail. So we got Joey B 2000 and Shane Falco. It's a 12-team super flex half PPR with an extra half point for the tight end premium and 6-point passing touchdowns. So Joey B is going to receive Josh Allen, Najee Harris, and Garrett Wilson. He gives up Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, and a 26 first round pick. So how do we feel about this type of deal?
I'm just for the sake of my sanity, I'm just gonna put Najee Harris to the side as the least valuable asset in this trade. Josh Allen and Garrett Wilson for Burrow, Justin Jefferson, and a 26 first. Joey B trading away and Joey B.
Doesn't feel right.
Doesn't feel right. In my gut, oh man, this is tough. Justin Jefferson is so valuable that getting him in a deal kind of makes it okay that Josh Allen, because he's up there like with the most valuable fantasy football assets. He's up there with Josh Allen, like in that range. Then you're getting Joe Burrow and you're getting a 26 first. So I mean, even though it's sacrilege to trade away Josh Allen, I'm leaning the Joe Burrow side, man, with Justin Jefferson in that first.
I agree, because you look at this deal and you say we have 3 assets in just this deal alone that are all first round startup pick. Josh Allen, You've already said, the 101 or the 102. I still agree with that. Joe Burrow, he's going in that like 106 to 108 range. Justin Jefferson, he's going to fall in kind of in that same 106 to 109 type of range as well. So you're getting 2 first round startup picks on the Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson side. I get it. Garrett Wilson, he's a second round startup pick. Probably, if you think he takes a step forward, maybe can find his way up there. Mm-hmm. It just feels a lot to me like, and I hate to say it, but it feels like Justin Jefferson is being undervalued in this deal. Like there might be some worry about Sam Darnold or JJ McCarthy. And it makes me feel like we're like, him and Garrett Wilson are close enough. Let me just get out of Justin Jefferson and upgrade it to Josh Allen. I don't think the gap is that small. So, and I think when you look at the running backs too, Najee and the 26 first, you just prefer to have the 26 first, I think, than Najee right now. Unless you're contending, then maybe you want Najee, but you can do that deal as a small deal without having these guys included. Josh Allen, love him. Like I said, probably the 101, 102 for me. But Joe Burrow and Justin Jefferson in a 6-point passing touchdown league, 12 team. I know it's only a half point per reception, but golly, dude, just give me the Burrow and Jefferson side. And it's probably closer than I'm making it seem, but I'm also trying not to have my Vikings bias back here as well. But the fact that you say that you don't ever want to trade Josh Allen and you prefer the Burrow and Jefferson side makes me feel like what I'm feeling is correct.
Yeah. If he was just going to do that, then I definitely would have opened up negotiations with like, hey, how do you feel about Joe Burrow in this first for Josh Allen? I would expect no back, but my response to that definitely wouldn't be, let me throw in Justin Jefferson. That would definitely not be my response.
Trying to figure out the way to bring Josh Allen and pair him with my Justin Jefferson. That's what I want to do. Still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
My screen went black.
I'm trying to find a way to bring that Josh Allen and that Justin Jefferson together on the same team. not try and get rid of one of them to get the other.
Yeah, 100%.
So, oh well, it's not a bad trade for the guy receiving Josh Allen and Garrett Wilson by any means. Joey B, you still got a good side of the trade, but I just prefer the Burrow and Jefferson.
Yeah.
But let's move on to trade 9. We got 2 left. We got Anon. This is a 10-team super flex PPR extra point for the tight end premium. So we get 2 points per reception for tight end. Start 9, contender, and he says he needs a flex. So Anon trades away AJ Brown, Ezekiel Elliott in a third, and he receives Nico Collins, James Cook, and a second in 2025. So how do we feel about this deal? Down tiering from AJ Brown to get that flex piece in James Cook.
I mean, I kind of like it. Trading away AJ Brown seems kind of but I like what he got back with it. James Cook in a second. I mean, I think that's fine. I mean, obviously AJ Brown is a better asset than Nico Collins, but I don't feel like the gap is so big that I feel like what was included with Nico Collins makes the deal fine. Don't care about Zeke, don't care about the third.
That's exactly how I feel, because it's like typically as a contender, I don't want to trade AJ Brown. I want AJ Brown on my roster as a contender, but you got enough coming back your way. You know, you move that 26 third into a 25 second. So you move up a year and up a round. You get James Cook instead of Ezekiel Elliott. It's enough that it makes it acceptable either way. And the fact that it's 10-team, start 9, that makes me want to have the hammers a little bit more. And I think AJ Brown is a hammer. Because in that shallow of a format, you can maybe find that flex that you need every once in a week or every once in a while, and you can kind of find that every week by week, or you can purchase that later in the season as teams kind of start to realize they're not contending and you are, and you can send your second round pick for, you know, a Christian Kirk type of player, an Amari Cooper type of player. I don't mind it. The value's fine. The value's good. If that solved your issue, that's fine. My thought process is I don't make that move today. I probably would have just stuck with AJ Brown today, and I would have figured that flex out later. But the value's correct. The value's good. Yeah, I think just for me, it's just timing and probably just wanting to have AJ on the roster. I also recognize I'm a little bit higher on AJ right now than some people because they have him like behind. Most of the community has AJ Brown behind Puka, behind Garrett Wilson. I don't. I have AJ up above them. So I'm a little bit higher than the community. Let's go on to trade 10 here. Final trade. Anon, he gets back to back. Now, this is interesting because he trades for Jalen Hurts. So he traded away AJ Brown, but he got Jalen Hurts. So he could have had the stack if he stuck. I'm assuming this is the same league. It is a 10-team super flex, full PPR, and a 1-point tight end premium, which are the same settings. And he did say he's contending, which is the same thing he said on the last one. So he gives away Jordan Love, Bijan Robinson, a 26 first and a 26 third. He receives Jalen Hurts, Breece Hall, and a 26 second. How do you feel about this one?
Now I feel like he's going another direction because I feel like he didn't have to do this deal. Like that's how I'm feeling. You gave away, okay, maybe he thinks Jordan Love was a one-hit wonder. I'm no stranger to that feeling. But I don't think the gap between Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love is all that big. I mean, I could actually see an outcome where Jordan Love is better than Jalen Hurts this upcoming season. I could absolutely see an outcome with Bijan being better than Breece Hall this season. And then a first and whatever the third was whatever, but a first, yeah, man, I don't know exactly what Anon is doing right here because I feel like him being a contender, he could have kept the guys he had and the draft picks he had and just still been a contender.
I mean, that's interesting because to me, the way that I view this is I'm very high on Jalen Hurts, not as high on Jordan Love. I think Jordan Love is still going to be a very good dynasty asset, but I'm not as high as I am on Love as I am on Hurts. Bijan and Bryce, they're Bijan and Breece, they are pretty much back to back, I think, in most people's rankings. I prefer Bijan for sure. But then you have the first, the second, the third, them being thrown in. I'm willing to pay this. I'm willing to pay this to get Jalen Hurts and Breece Hall. And I'm especially willing to pay this if I have AJ Brown on my roster, which he had in the last deal. That's what I think I'm looking at and thinking like, man, if you could have had AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, Breece Hall, and you could have figured out that flex. I mean, you're getting a second back in this deal anyway, so you could have just traded that second. I mean, you had a first even. You could have moved that, but anyways, at face value of this deal, ignoring the last one, I like this one. I actually like him getting Jalen Hurts and Breece Hall. I think this makes a lot of sense to contend. You do throw in the draft capital, which is scary because now you're kind of selling the future to try and win now. But I just wish he had AJ Brown to stack with Jalen Hurts. That's all I'm saying, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I think there was other alternatives. Like you can get a flex piece with a second rounder. Like you want a flex piece, use that second rounder. Try to go get like Javonte Williams or somebody you could just plug in there and just put up a couple numbers here or there, or get one of the rookie
Keenan
running
Allen,
backs.
dude.
Yeah. Like you could do that. You could have kept AJ Brown and got Jalen Hurts. I mean, honestly, personally, I prefer Bijan over Overhaul. To be honest,
I
kind of would have left that. I kind of would have left that out of the deal. So if anything, I would have been trading Hurts in the second and seeing if I could do it by getting I would have been trading Love that first and that third for Jalen Hurts and just leaving it at that if I had to, not even trying to get the second, because I think Bijan Robinson, I'd rather have Hurts, AJ Brown, and Bijan Robinson than the alternative. So yeah,
there's a lot of different routes, and obviously in hindsight it's easier to look back at them, but like I said, this deal at face value, I like this deal. The other one as the AJ Brown, I would have preferred to have AJ Brown, but who knows which one came first? I don't know. I just know in the order that they were submitted, I think we got the AJ one first, and then we got this one. So maybe he didn't know Hurts was available until after he had traded him. So it is all good. At the end of the day, I don't think either of them were bad trades. So like I said, the value was still correct on the AJ one. He probably got better as a football team, a fantasy football team in these moves. So good solid trades to end off the show here, but I prefer the Jalen Hurts side here because I'm just much higher on Jalen than the community is right now. So with that being said, let's get on out of here today. Next week, not sure what we got on the docket for episodes, but I do know training camp is starting here in the next week or so. So we should have some more news and some more rumors and some more, all the drama starting to kick up. So there's going to be definitely lots of stuff to talk about. We'll talk about what we want to talk about off camera war. But with that being said, like I said, we're working on trying to get an audio only, Apple, Spotify, all that good shit. That is going to be on the agenda here very shortly. So I will let you guys know when we have it. If you enjoyed today's video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good YouTube stuff. Make sure you go join the Discord. That way you guys can submit trades for future episodes. And make sure you guys go follow War. War, where can they find you at?
You can find us over on Crimson Mask Pro Wrestling. It's our YouTube channel where we talk about obviously professional wrestling. We do a couple shows every weekend. We'll have shows here and there in between. And yeah, please subscribe to us over there, turn on notifications, and check us out. Crimson Mask Pro Wrestling with an attitude.
Hell yeah, dude, just cut a promo for us. But I appreciate you guys. If you submitted trades today, thank you for being vulnerable, letting us talk about your trades, good, bad, ugly, what we do differently. Only gets us better as Dynasty Fantasy Football players. So I appreciate you. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. But until then, peace out.